Well, thanks everyone. I think we see some people getting connected now, so I'll just maybe wait a couple of seconds before I get started. Just give everybody a chance to get connected. Okay, well, I guess we'll get going here. So yeah, so very happy and excited to be joining you today, and we want to go through and review Quadra, which is our quoting and estimating tool that is completely integrated with Signature from Key to Act and GP. And so let's still take you through looking at the product. I'll give it a quick PowerPoint to start, and then I'll get into doing a demo of the service call quoting module, which is both a mobile and a hybrid app, as well as the service contract or maintenance contract quoting tool. So again, so Quadra has 3 different quoting tools, all integrated with Signature from Key to Act and GP. So we do service call quoting or pull through work, we do maintenance contract quoting, and we do large job or project cost, job cost quoting. Today, we're going to focus on maintenance contracts and service calls. I guess the thing that we focused on with the application itself was, a number of areas really of streamlining processes. We have very deep integration into Signature and Key to Act and GP, and what that does is it just eliminates a ton of extra keystrokes, eliminates spreadsheets, it eliminates potential errors in terms of pricing because you're using real data in real time. And what we're seeing when the applications get deployed, whether it's with technicians starting to quote or technicians and your sales team working together to quote, we're just, again, that streamlining of processes speeds up the time that it takes for quotes and estimates to get created and really cuts down on any errors. So when we look at the 3 modules, so with service call quoting, again, the purpose of that is to get quotes for service work, typical pull through work. What we do is we actually integrate back into existing customers to see what equipment they have, so you can build out quotes on existing equipment, or they could be prospect customers, brand net new customer that you can add. Maintenance contracts, again, this is are probably one of our most robust applications in that it gives you a ton of flexibility around creating maintenance contracts that, again, integrates back into Signature. So that when you approve a contract, it automatically creates all of your tasking and all your service calls for you. So that saves a ton of time on the data entry side. And then the job costs, we're doing job cost quoting for large projects. With service call or the pull through work, obviously the goal is to increase sales. We also want to streamline that sales process, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you. And we made sure it's very user-friendly, easy to deploy. One of our customers store, they say it takes about 30 minutes to train a new technician on how to use the application before they can get out the door. And again, it's just what we're trying to do is streamline that sales process for you. With the pull-through, investing in your technicians and sales teams, obviously we feel, and we've seen it from customers, is just how effective it is at actually increasing your sales rates. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways that we can do field quoting. So the first method is the technician, and then in conjunction with your inside sales team or your sales resources. So the technician's been called out to a break fix situation, and they're going to go through and take a look at, diagnose what the problem is, and then they're going to create a recommendation and notify the office that, hey, here's what I've noticed. I've taken some pictures. I've taken a picture of the faceplate and showed that to you, and I've uploaded it. And as soon as I press the upload button, my inside sales team gets notified by email. They log in and they can see the details in absolute real time. The second option, which is, again, I think this method is gaining popularity with our customers, which is having technicians do the quoting. Usually it's up to a certain dollar level that they can quote up to, but hey, if they're out in the field, they're the contact with the customer, and they can go ahead and just create the quote. And again, it's created in real time. Once it's been approved, they can actually just create a service ticket or add it to the existing ticket that they're on. And the third option, which you know is for quoting small jobs as well, is just having inside sales quote it directly. So we're going to look at those three different items. Material, it's pulled real time from inventory, so you get real time pricing, or it can be added as a non-stock item. So if I have to go out and call up a supplier and get a price for a motor, I'm not going to stock that. I'm just going to create a PO for it and order it. You can do that as well, or it could be picked from a supplier and go through accounts payable or credit card. Labor, this is very complex within Key to Act in terms of how it's actually done by customer, by labor rate group. So we'll show you all the different ways that can be pulled in. And with maintenance contracts, this is probably there's a lot of savings available here. A couple of the big things that we're going to show you is, one is we're going to show you how to actually survey equipment using the mobile app. And what you can actually do is attach pictures to the equipment that you're surveying, so that I can then just upload the pictures. And so if I'm in the office, or if I'm the person who's doing maintenance contract quotes, if I can actually see the equipment, see the faceplate, I know exactly what I'm dealing with when I'm creating a maintenance contract. That just saves a ton of time and reduces errors. But you could also take surveys from Excel file imports. So we're just really streamlining that process. You could add prospect customers, or if it's an existing customer, we're going to pull that equipment record from GP. And again, the other option I'll show you is just how to do the survey. Tasking, we use all the tasking that exists within Key to Act. So if you have tasking already, we'll use that. We also have a comprehensive library of over 35,000 different tasks and equipment records that you can pull from if you don't have one or you want to start over. We have an advanced AI for figuring out historically which belts, filters, and other material have we used on this type of equipment in the past. And then fully customizable service proposals, so that you can have a variety of different proposals for your customers to see. On the job cost side, again, it's for creating large quotes, lots of templates, pretty easy to use. I'm not going to go through this one today, but if you do job cost quoting, something we could show you at another time. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the demo now. And first thing we'll notice is we're going to go through and look at the service call quoting, and look at a number of different ways to go about creating that. So from inside Quadra, so what I see when I log in is I'm going to have a variety of options based on what my security says. So if I have access to the service call module, I can select it. When I launch it, I can either launch it in my browser, or I'm just emulating this. It runs as a mobile app as well, so you can actually see it inside of a mobile app. So if your technicians are in the field, they can just use their mobile phone, download the mobile app, and go about it that way. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of doing that. So I'm going to simulate that this is my technician logging in. And there they are logged in. So that's the view that they see. They first get presented with a dashboard that sort of gives them some information about how many new quotes, new recommendations, or approved quotes have existed for this month. They can go in and look at pending quotes or pending recommendations. If the technician is out there to do a break fix, they may be on an existing service call. And if that's the case, they can actually launch this directly from inside a mobile tech. Alternatively, I can just look up the customer's name. In this case, I'm going to see that there's one customer with that name. So if I look at the customer, I can confirm that that's the right address. When I pick that customer, there's a number of things I can see in here, but like I can see all of their equipment that they have. I can dive in to see what the equipment is if I'm going to create a recommendation or a quote against it. Or I could just go ahead and start saying, hey, I've taken a look at the equipment. And we need to replace a motor. So if I look up that customer, I'm going to create a recommendation against it. And what a recommendation is it's kind of the start of the sales process, right? So now we're going to collect the information that's required to create a quote, much like you would with a new sales lead. So what we've done to keep things as simple as possible for the technicians is we've given them the ability to pick from a template. So I could say, hey, what I want you to do is pick from one of these templates, whether it's a to replace a 10-ton unit, to replace a leaky pipe. These could all be templated. So if I pick the compressor changeout, what you can do is either provide instructions to the technician to say, hey, make sure you take pictures of data plates. I want filter drive sizes and other questions possibly. Or it could be something like, with replace the motor, I'm going to have them, collect the size, amps, volts, phase, information that's critical, making sure that we get the right motor ordered. Or it could be, I'm going to look at an emulsifier tank and it's going to provide different descriptions. All it's really doing is looking to save the technicians some time when they go through and make this change. So I'm just going to go through with replace motor, and I can go into the details and say, the motor is seized. Tried starting it, and it needs to be replaced. And again, if we wanted the technician to capture this information, I'm not going to here just because it's just for time, but you could have them capture that information. So then what I'm going to do now is I'm just creating a recommendation, which again is just like starting a sales lead. I could then link that recommendation if I wanted to that piece of equipment, right? Which is great. He could collect information about the equipment if he needs to, or just go back to my recommendation, right? Inside of here, I can see the details for the recommendation. I could add some items. So maybe your process is the technician just goes through and adds, maybe the material. So I'm just going to look for, that motor. As I'm typing in, it's doing a real-time lookup into Signature into GP to get the inventory items, so I can go through and pick the motor that I want to, want to use. And let's just say it happens to be this, whatever, half horsepower fan motor. Pulls in the cost for them. Now, very important to note, like all of these items that we see in terms of cost, markup, bid price, that's all controllable based on user security. So if I look at the user setup and I go in and I look at a specific user, what I can do is for the service call module, you can actually set what the technicians can see. So say, hey, I'm going to let them, show them the estimated prices, show them the estimated costs. You could just hide that so they don't see that. So I get asked that question a lot, and that's easily controlled by user security in terms of what they can and can't see. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. It's pulled through the default markup, etc. So I add that particular item. Maybe they're going to replace the bracket as well. So I type in bracket, and I'm going to get this V bracket. Great, I'm going to add that. And then they're going to go through, and I'm going to add some labor. So let's add the service technician. It's pulling through the correct labor rate based on the customer, and they can just go in and say, I don't need 1 hour. This is going to be 4 hours. And I say, great. I add that item. I go back and I'm like, all right, so I've got the items in there. Everything's great. They wanted me to take some pictures, so I'm going to take some pictures. Sorry, I'm going to choose the file first. If I was doing this on my phone, it would just automatically go to my photo library. So I'm going to update a picture of the faceplate, and then maybe I'll also upload a picture of the actual equipment itself. Maybe this is up on the roof and the customer can't see it, so I'm just going to take a picture of it so that we can include that in the quote that we're going to send to the customer. So at this point in time, the technician, the process that I described first was that the technician is going to work in conjunction with your inside sales team. So the technician's been asked to take some pictures, note some information, and then send it to the office for review, to firm up the pricing, whatever. If that's your process, that's the first step. So by pressing the notify office button, what's happened is an email has just been sent to whatever the distribution group is based on who the technician is, and they're then going to get notified via email. Just pull that up. Okay, so it says, hey, submitted a new service for your attention. So click here. So I could then just click here and it's going to automatically pop up into the application. I can then just look at pending recommendations and I see, okay, there's the pending recommendation that the technician just created. As I'm going through it, I can take a look at the information, the items. I can take a look at the picture. I've got the faceplate, so I can actually just view that and get a really good picture or visual of, you know, the exact motor size. So I'm not guessing or hoping I get the right one. That's the beauty of having the pictures associated with these recommendations. So that's great. So I've got that. I can go in and look at the items themselves, and so I can see that, yeah, they've got the bracket, they've got that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to need the belt as well. So let's go look at, I'm just going to add the belt. So let's say it's going to need to add I know it's the 18-inch belt, so I go ahead and add that. And then I can see, and I noticed that the technician, they do this all the time, forgot to add the trip charge. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add the trip charge. Sorry, travel charge. So I add travel charge. In this case, it's set up to have a, you know, it's a $55 flat fee. You could set it up to be a per mile charge or another type of hourly charge. So I add that item. Looks good. I can go in and see the details. Looks great. So now I can say, great, I'm going to go ahead and create the quote. So what the quote does is says, okay, it's going to search for other recommendations or leads just to make sure that maybe there's other recommendations that technicians have made that you're going to want to add to a quote. In this case, there's only the one, so it automatically defaults it. I can see the details here. Again, I can control what the salespeople see. And if they want to go in and make some edits, they can go in and make some edits. Whether it's I can go in and you know, edit my overall markup. I could just go in and say $595. I'm going to actually set that to be $600, and it's going to automatically adjust my markup, my gross profit, etc. I can drill in at this level and see the items that are on there, and maybe I went, oh shoot, this is not the 18-inch belt, it's the 16-inch belt. I can just quickly remove that and then go ahead and add a 16-inch belt, or the 18-inch belt. Great, add that, excellent. So once I'm done at this point in time, you know, I've got some options now. I can either email the customer, or if I've got the customer on the phone and they just want to approve it, I can approve it. But now that I email the customer, it's giving me some options. So it's automatically pulled in the contact name that's on that address. So you've got that already. And then you can pick which attachments. So I took some pictures. If I had a bunch of pictures of the broken parts, I could easily add those. In this case, I've got this picture that I'm going to add. So I want to add that to the quote. And then we've got a variety of templates. These are all fully customizable, meaning you can have a variety of different templates. In this case, I've got one with, you know, terms and conditions that I can pick. I've got my main proposal template. So if I pick the one with the terms and conditions, you know, and these, again, you could have as many as you want and you get to create them. You don't have to rely on us to create them. They're all user definable. And great, so I can preview it now. So I can preview what that is going to look like to the customer. Sorry, I just got to hidden on me down at the bottom. There it is. And there's my proposal. You know, I've got all the items in it. Again, I could have this set up so it just shows one item, a summary, the amount, terms and conditions to go ahead and sign off and approve. Let me just get this back to, well, it's fine. And now I can just go ahead and send the email. And it says email has been sent, which is great. And you'll see all across in the application, you'll see the workflow. So I can see at every stage. So, you know, if I want to go into the system later on, I want to see all of the proposals that have been sent to customers that we're waiting on. maybe I'm going to get somebody to follow up on those. I'll show you the reporting in a bit, but just so you know, we do track the workflow right through. And then let's say this particular, the customer called back and said, yeah, great, or they were on site. What they could do is just say, yeah, customer, I'm on site, maybe, and have this signed off and approved right away. Great, so now that's been approved. And so now I've got some options here. What I can do is I can either create a brand new service call, or I could add it to an existing call. So if the situation where the technician might already be on site, you can just add it to their existing service call, or I can go ahead and create a new service call. And it's just asking me, these are requirements for signature. So it's looking for a division, and then it's also looking for the date. So I'll plug those two things in and then confirm creation. And it's just gone ahead and created that service call within signature. And I'll show you later on the demo where it just automatically created that service record, associated the quote and all the quote details for that item. And we can see that right. Gonna pull down another screen here. Okay, so there's the customer. Oops, all right. Why am I not seeing me? There's the replace motor quote that came in, my apologies. So there's it's got the the details of the dollar amount. I can actually look at the quote itself. It's pulled through the values, my service labor, all the details, and it's also created the actual appointment for you. So again, huge time saver. So that was kind of the method where the technician works with inside sales. As I said, the other approach that you can take is the technicians could just work, take the entire process from start to finish without having to, could do it independently of head office. So if I show you that same approach, I can show it simulating that I'm on my browser here or on my mobile phone. So again, the technician is just simply going to go and look for, create a recommendation for a customer. I'm using the same customer again. So that's the customer, pick the address, great. I can pick for my template. I'm just going to create a quick quote here. They're looking for some details, but again, it's just to, replace fan motor. Got the details it's looking for, great. Create my recommendation. I know what I need to do. I'm going to first upload some pictures. So I'm going to take a couple of pictures here. Again, it would go to my phone, to the picture library on my phone. And I can show different pieces. I can show, here's the one picture, upload that. And then just for my own sanity, I want to upload a copy of the faceplate just so I know exactly the information on that. Uploading those two pictures, and I'm going to start going through and adding my items. So I know what I need to replace. I'm going to look to inventory. I'm going to look for that motor. And there's my $1,590 is the price. I'm going to add that. I'm also going to add the bracket. It's DV bracket this time, adding that. And then I'm going to add some labor. And the technician says I'm going to need to add 5 hours. Oops, 5 hours. Add that item. Great. And now I'm looking at the details here. I've uploaded my pictures. Just go ahead now and create the quote. Same idea for the technician. It picks the recommendation they just created. I can see the details. Again, I can see as much or as little as I want based on what my permissions are. And if this is above my limit of $2,800, I can send that back to the office for review. Or I can go ahead and just email this to the customer, right? So great. I can pick my template again, preview it, and then just send out the email. And there it tells me the email has been sent. And the nice thing about it is, you've got a complete log of everything that happens on every one of the recommendations that you push through. So once that's been, I've emailed the customer, there's now an approval button, so I can then say the customer's going to approve it or the customer's going to decline it. If I say it's been approved, we can put in the customer's name, Joe Smith, have the customer sign it right on their phone, and that's been done. And then again, the nice thing is if I'm, I could just add this to the existing service call that I'm on, or if it's just to create a new service call, I would do the same thing. And again, this is the nice thing about this is it's in absolute real time. I just have to pick the date again. These are required fields in Signature. To the 13th, done, confirm. And that's how long, that doesn't take more than a couple of minutes to go through and create that quote. It's real time, it's integrated. There's no sending emails back and forth and then calling customers and looking up paperwork, tracking stuff, waiting until I get back to the office. The goal was to get it done and have it done either by the technicians in the field or give the same functionality, exact same functionality to your sales team to see the details from the office. So both work for creating service calls. So that's the first, that's the service call quoting module. I want to take you to the or show you the service contract quoting module now. So within service contract, probably the number one question we get or when we're dealing with new customers is the biggest problem they have is how do they survey and collect survey information for equipment. A lot of times it's done either through Excel sheets. Mostly it's mainly done somebody actually making a trip and doing some sort of recording of the equipment that's there. So what we've done with Quadra is we've given the ability to survey equipment records using the mobile app. So I'm going to just pick this customer again. This could be a prospect customer that's not even in your system. I'm just going to use this same customer because it's the one I use all the time. And you can see about the equipment records. Sorry, the customer. If I pick the customer, I can see the equipment records, and I can go ahead and I take a look at these equipment records, or I could just go ahead and start adding new equipment records. So in this case here, it's going to be a package AC unit that's going to be a 15-ton. We'll do a 15-ton package AC west roof. Looks up in real time what the equipment types are from Signature, and this is where it gets all the tasking that we're going to use for doing the service later on. I've got my make, model, serial number, but I can also at this point take my picture. So I'm going to ask them to take a picture of the faceplate for me. Let's say it's this particular faceplate, and we're going to call it faceplate, and I upload it. Great, that's awesome. And I add the equipment. I could have added pictures of the equipment as well, so I'll just add another one here real quick, and we'll call this one a 15-ton air handling unit. And we'll do this as a 15-ton AHU West building. West. In this case here, I'm going to pick AHU. And again, the nice thing is it's doing type ahead, so I don't have to type everything out. I just start typing and it automatically pulls through the list. I can fill in all the details. I just want to take a picture again of the faceplate. And we'll use this one this time. faceplate. I'm going to upload that. I'm also going to ask them to take a picture of the equipment itself so I can sort of get a sense of, you know, if there's any issues that, you know, that they're concerned about. They can actually just take a picture of the equipment so I know exactly what I'm dealing with. This is a screw chiller, so it's not the picture of equipment. It's not the right one, but you get the idea. And again, the purpose is if you want to see, you know, age of equipment, the condition it's in, if there's any sort of environmental considerations you need to make about, you know, confined space, etc., you can review all of that. And then yeah, so just once that's done, I just add that equipment. And now from this field survey that I've done, I've actually now just populated those records within the system. So I can now, if I go to create a service contract, and I pick that I'm going to call this one Byron Test 5, let's say. The customer was the same one I've been using. They've got the one location. I can put my, you know, this quote is going to expire. It's on the 31st. It's a commercial industrial contract. This is going to start, let's say, June 1st and go for a year. I'm going to bill them monthly. I can specify what I want, whether it's going to be semi-annual, I'm going to bill them, the day of the month I'm going to bill them, the default for the service call day, and then the region. So we'll pick the Ohio, let's say. And then down at the bottom, what it's done is it's automatically pulled in the equipment records that it has for, you know, for that particular location. And in this case here, there's the one that I just added from the field, and you can see there's the picture of the faceplate that I took. So I can see exactly what I'm dealing with, and I don't have to spend all the time necessarily in the field taking down that information and recording it. I can just take a picture and have somebody at the office go through and update the details of this. But again, it gives me the comfort to know that I'm going to be ordering the right belts, filters, etc., and that I have the right piece of equipment that I'm going to be building out my maintenance contracts on. What I will then do is I can look at a couple of things, like if I want to include material. So I'm going to add all of these to this particular contract. If I wanted to include material, what we do with our bot is we actually look at historically for that type of equipment, the 15-ton air handling unit. We actually look and see historically what we've added to those quotes, and we give you a relatively comfort or accuracy level based on how many times. So we've calculated from 100 previous quotes, so we're pretty confident that this is the equipment that's used, or the items. So I know that it's going to be, you know, that filter, that belt, and I go, great, and it's going to add those to that to this particular quote. And I could do the same thing with my 15-ton package AC unit. And it's saying, well, we have not quoted anything previously for that, so I don't have any information to give you on a 15-ton unit. So, you know, I could go through and add that manually, but it's just going to give, you know, if somebody doesn't have the experience, you know, of years and years of doing these quotes, having that, you know, the system tell you historically what's been added to those contracts on those equipment types previously is a real benefit. I can also include travel time. So what this does is it's looking at the client's customer's address compared to your office location, and it's then going through and just noting the time. So this is going to be, you know, 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I go, great. It's going to add that to your service contract for every trip that you make to that particular customer. The other thing that I can do is I have the ability to, as I mentioned earlier, so I could just import. So instead of taking pictures and doing a survey, I could actually just do an import. So I've got an Excel sheet, and this is a very simplified example, but you know, here's an Excel sheet that's got, you know, I'm just doing my survey of the equipment information. I've got 3 items in there. I pick that Excel item and do my upload. and it imports it in. It says this equipment is already in the system, which is a good thing, so I can actually, not re-import it. But if I had hundreds of equipment records from an Excel sheet, they could just easily be imported. So the next thing is I'm now going to go in and create the contract and look at the contract details. And the way the system was designed was, it's at this stage now where I've got the equipment records. I know which ones they are. I've loaded them. Within Signature, the service contract module, it understands, if I'm doing I'm going to include the equipment here. So let's look at the equipment ID. So if I'm looking at this 15-ton air handling unit, it's got a defined set of tasking that's been developed, and that's all developed by the customers. As I said, we have a library of over 35,000 service tasks, and then so these are all the tasks that have been associated to that 15-ton air handling unit equipment type. In this case, it gets very detailed in terms of having tasking and subtasking, which is great. And then there's a time associated with each one of these tasks. And then that all rolls up into, the total hours for a given contract. And there's my contract total. So if I look through on this 15-ton air handling unit, there is no time set for, let me pull in the time, sorry. So for a lot of these, you can see what the duration is in terms of how long they're expecting these things to take. We can go through and edit them here manually if you want, or they could be updated in the task lists themselves. And the nice thing about that is it's building out your contract based on the service. I'm just going to see. It's pulled in. I must not have included the task list, so that's my bad. So what I can do is I can look at certain tasks. So in this case here, the correction, I'm going to not include the task list for that. And it's going to automatically then just start calculating what my hours are for this particular contract. I did not include, apologize, when I added those equipment records, I did not include the task lists when I imported them. So I'm just going to go through and create that again really quickly for you. So 1 second. This is quicker than me going through and manually re-pulling them in, which you can do. So now I've pulled in, there's 104 hours, so I've pulled in multiple pieces of equipment. And you can see it's automatically defaulting when the service is going to happen. So you can see the months that the service is going to happen. But the idea here is I can start adjusting the scope of these contracts now, and getting a budget number to that customer fairly quickly. So if I want to just look at certain tasks that I can include or exclude, so things like certain tasks that we have in here. So the filter service, or this emergency diagnose is we're not going to include that on this contract. So by removing that, it's going to automatically adjust the scope of the particular contract that you're building out. You know, and there could be other services. So this advanced evaporator service, for instance, I can exclude that. We're just going to do the basic evaporator analysis service. And again, it's just continuing to reduce the scope. However, I could look at certain tasks and make adjustments to the tasks as well, and say that, you know, I'm going to include the hours in here in my view. And you can look at certain items and say, all right, I know for this refrigerant oil filter service, I know that's going to take longer than an hour and 15 minutes. So I could set that to be 2 hours, and again, have it automatically adjust the total hours. Or what clients will do is look at certain, you know, months and say that, you know what, because we're in Minnesota in the month of January, I'm going to add a factor of 10%. Just because of, you know, snow conditions or other environmental conditions, and it'll automatically adjust. Sorry. It'll automatically add a 10% factor to all of those services, and again, it'll automatically start adjusting the scope. You can move service months around. So let's say the client says, hey, I don't want to do a service in April. Can we move that to May? So I can just cut it and then easily paste it into May and move those out to May. I could go through and say, hey, this tube cleaning service is not something that, is not something that's done by the apprentice. I need, let's say, the master plumber to do it. And so what it'll do is, it won't necessarily change the time that it's going to take, but it'll change the rate that's going to be charged out. Or I could look at this VFD service and go, you know what, this needs to be done every 3 months. So I'm going to set it to, you know, make that adjustment, and it's going to automatically add service calls out. Again, it's going to increase my scope, and I'm going to get that contract to a point where, you know, I'm happy with the way things look. But it's very easy to adjust, and that's the purpose of this screen, is to make it very easy and simple to adjust. When I look, you know, when I'm in here, even I can just verify I've got the pictures that were taken, so I've got the comfort of that, making sure that I've got the right equipment there. And if I look at my bid summary, what I can see is, you know, here's a summary of what the contract is going to look like. You know, I can see that my, you know, my total is 16 or 1167, but there's no margin currently on this. So we say, all right, I'm going to go with a 45% margin, and it'll automatically calculate. I've got an 8.5% commission rate. And if I want to look at the service labor, you know, I can see that I've got a master plumber, a super technician, and then I've got a technician in here as well. There's no labor rate being pulled in for that, for these two guys. I'm not sure why that is right now. And there's my travel. And you know, you get to that point where you're happy with the items. I could also look at, you know, all the belts and filters that are on here, and I could, you know, make sure, because I've got the months that we're going to be doing this, I could actually, you know, add this to my belts and filters order. And then, you know, once I get to the point where I'm you know, happy with how this looks, I'm going to send the customer a proposal. So I pick the item, and then I'm going to select from my template. So again, a whole variety of templates that you can select from. Shoot, I'm in the wrong spot. My apologies. So I pick my proposal template. Again, I could have a variety of different templates, and I just download that. Again, I got to just make this a little bit smaller so I can see the bottom of my screen. And then it's going to open up in Word. Drag that onto the right screen. Again, these formats are user definable, so it's a nice cover page, you know, my glossary of terms, the welcome letter, the executive summary, you know, with all my details. I didn't have to type this up. This is all pulled in from the quote template. It's showing me the equipment that I have, and then it's showing me the tasking that's going to be done, showing me the months that those tasks are going to be performed, any special provisions if there were one, gets into my terms and conditions, and then a nice approval page. But again, these I could take the same quote, and if I say, hey, I want to, you know, we excluded some items from that quote, but I want to make sure the customer, you know, when we were going through and doing the budget discussion, the customer said, hey, I'm going to do some of these tasks either to, you know, lower the number, lower the cost. Sorry, dragging between windows here. So again, similar format, but you know what you can also show is this is all of the tasking with the subtasking. So this is a lot of detail, but you're showing the customer exactly what you're going to do with each one of those services. Again, this might be the differentiator, you know, to compared to your competition. You know, you're being fully transparent with them. This is exactly what we're going to do. You know, and you can ask the, you know, are you getting this detail from the competition? You know, because you're going through and providing all that detail. So it's really up to you in terms of how you want to see the information presented in your proposals. But that's you know, they're completely user definable and customizable. Now what I'm going to show you is, you know, once you get that, once you get the that process to where you're happy with it, you could actually go through and you say, hey, yeah, we got that, sorry, it's been sent to the customer, or it's been approved, or it's been customer approved. So I say, great. So once the customer's approved it, I fill out the necessary information that's required for signature to get that created as a contract in signature, and I say approve. And what it's now doing is it's actually inserting all of the tasking and all the trip information into to create this contract, and there's the contract number 577. So now if I go back into GP, and we look up the history, sorry, contracts. And I can see here's the contract, and I can go through and look at, you know, my labor loading. It's populated everything for me. I can look at my revenue and costing, so it's populated all that. I can see the details of when it's going to be billed and when it's going to be incurred. So everything's populated into Key to Act signature. And you can see what coverage is included. I can see the equipment that's there. I can see all the details for the tasking that's going to be available. You can see the equipment list, the tasks, etc. So it's all populated based on that service contract, and again, saving a whole bunch of time for you know, that transition from sales into, you know, operations when they have to go in and create these maintenance contracts. So finally, you know, what's nice about having you know, having one spot that's integrated is the ability to, you know, get some decent reporting through, you know, the fact that I've, you know, we're getting the information. So I'm going to do my pull-through report. And this is taken from our report engine. And I just picked some dates. I'm just going to look at this month and see what we've done to date and submit. And then what you can see is you can see all of the details. You can see the status for all of these calls. I can quickly, you know, shuffle the deck here and say, hey, yeah, we've had these have all been closed. This particular one's been sent to the customer, waiting for approval. This one's been approved, but the service call has not been created. So maybe you're going to have them, figure out why that service call hasn't been created. So there's all kinds of reporting that exists in the system. I could look at my maintenance contract sales details. So let's see what we've sold again this month. I'm just going to look at this month. And this is what we've recorded this month. So again, I can see this the status or the stage that it's at. So here we've got one that's customer approved, sent to the customer. Oh, here's one that's been sent to sales for estimating. So if I could just jump in and actually look at that particular maintenance contract, maybe my job is to review it. And I can go through and at this point in time, maybe I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to look at the the bid summary. Can see what it's a 34% margin. No, that's got to be, it's a minimum of 45, and I can update that, and then great. So now I'm happy with that. Now I can say, hey, I've reviewed it. So now it's going to go and say it's can be sent to the customer or internally approved, which may trigger somebody else to send it to the next level, to send to the customer. There's also from within the quote itself, we also have a project tab which will allow you to create, I'm just going to pull it up, but it'll allow you to go ahead and create and manage all the various steps of the service contract quote, so that you can identify if something has been internally approved and it's ready to go to the customer. So yeah, so that's in a nutshell what we wanted to cover today. Apologize for the technical glitch there, but yeah, so I'm going to open it up. If there are any questions, happy to address them. So I'm going to just hopefully we can get this stop my screen share. Oops.